Thanks, Brandis. Early in the program, we discussed the mayor's controversial ordinance that would allow the city to sue gang members. And now we're joined again by the Alderpeople once more. Let's start with this remap news. Alderman Lopez, a coalition of community groups, is now deciding to back the map put forth by the Latino caucus. How does this change the dynamic?
I think the fact that a number of independent and progressive organizations are supporting the coalition map highlights the fact that that map has broader support than just the 16 members of the city council that signed on to it. That map is more in line with what the data shows. It keeps neighborhoods together. It is more cohesive. And I think that is what is gravitating more people to it. And I would hope that their continued support builds and bodes well for that map.
Alderwoman Taylor, what about that? One of the sticking points for the community groups was not breaking up Englewood into so many wards. So the Latino caucus map breaks it up into 2 wards instead of 5. Is that a good proposal?
No, it is not. What we should have done was work together. And there's still hope for me that we all could work together to come up with the map that we all agree with. Why I agree that we should have community input. This process should have been a little bit longer. We should have started this in January. And so how do people who don't really have an insight, and don't get me wrong, I'm new. This is my first remap. I haven't learned as much as I would like doing the remap. And so how do people who have no knowledge of what mapping is go and make a map without the input of the people who are actually elected and paid to do a remap? And so go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead and finish, Alderwoman Taylor.
Yeah, so this has been difficult for some of us, especially us rookies. In everything that we do in city council, I haven't really learned much in this process. And so this is one of the processes that I'm not happy with. And I'm hoping that we could create legislation in the state and in the city to change how we do remapping.
And Alderwoman Haddon, at issue here is the number of Latino majority wards versus African-American majority wards backed by the Latino caucus versus the African-American caucus. So what is the linchpin here to a compromise?
I feel like we've had a lot of good discussions and gotten really close, right, to identifying compromises. So between the coalition map, which I'll say, right, the coalition map is a good effort at putting forth a draft, just like the council map is a great effort at putting forth a draft, just like the people's map is a good effort at putting forth a draft. But as Alderwoman Taylor said, this is complex. I do think that compromise and figuring out what's really in the best interest of the city is at key. And one thing with the people's map, joining with the coalition map that I think is important that people know is that they didn't sign off on the coalition map. They signed off with an agreement on the coalition map, and they're proposing some changes. So I think we've seen a version 2 of the coalition map that's been put out, but it's important for voters to know that the coalition already filed a referendum. And right now, they cannot change that map. So even though both of the groups are together, the version 1 that was introduced as a referendum, that's what's going to referendum now, not the version 2 that they're circulating.
This whole process, of course, gets very weedy, and we should just clarify for viewers the coalition map is the map supported by the Latino caucus. Also, Alderman Lopez, early in the show, we spoke with Heather Sharon about the city's slow-moving process to replace Inspector General Joe Ferguson. He's been gone for 4 months now. Why is this process taking so long?
You know, that's a question for the ages, Paris. We've seen from this administration the foot dragging in replacing department heads, not only with the Inspector General, but throughout a number of the departments that have been operating either with only acting commissioners, acting directors, or with nobody at the helm at all. You know, the municipal code is specific that the mayor has 30 days to start filling appointments. There's a very specific process when it comes to the Inspector General. And I think that this highlights the problem that Mayor Lightfoot has, which is walking and chewing gum at the same time. This is a department head that is integral to improving the efficiency and efficacy of the city of Chicago. We've seen where the Inspector General reports help us craft policies that streamline processes and save taxpayers money. And to have that body, that organization, that department listless without a leader is just unacceptable at this point.
And Alderwoman Taylor, it seems like we're hearing nothing about any progress. I mean, are the wheels in motion at all? Are there any finalists? Is anyone talking about anything with regards to the IG?
That was something you would have to ask the mayor. While in history, We were part of those conversations in this administration. We're not a part of a lot of these conversations. So just as much as you're in the dark, so are we. And we are anticipating, like Alderman Lopez said, it's 30 days. And so we're way past that. But that seems to be what this administration does. This is slow walking. And now we're in a time where our communities depend on us. We cannot slow walk in this process.
All right, speaking of communities, Alderwoman Maria Hadden, late last week, the city and the mayor's administration decided to deny a permit to the company that owns General Iron to operate a metal scrapper on the southeast side, even though a health report said that it would not adversely impact the health of residents. Was this the right move by the city?
It absolutely was the right move. And I believe the health report didn't say it wouldn't adversely impact. It said that it incrementally wouldn't make it any worse, basically, than it already is, which I think is a huge difference. Neighbors on the southeast side and I'd say supporters around the city, including myself and residents here in the 49th Ward, have been supporting this fight to deny the permit. So this was absolutely the right move, not just for the residents, right, in the southeast side who are most directly impacted, but also in deciding what kind of future city Chicago is going to be. We've got to turn away from a lot of the dirty industries. We've got to find a new path. So this was the right decision. I was happy to see the mayor and our Department of Public Health make that call.
And this was a decision that community groups, environmental groups praised. Alderman Ray Lopez, the company that owns General Iron, obviously did not praise the decision, saying they're going to go forward with a lawsuit against the city because they believe the city went back on an agreement. Could the city be liable for millions of dollars in damages here?
Well, I know that the company spent over $85 million upgrading that site, upgrading their facilities, on the understanding that the city was going to approve this permit. And what this crisis has shown us is that the mayor played both sides. She fabricated a crisis in the southeast side of Chicago so that she could finally become a friend of the environmentalists, all the while telling businesses that you are still welcome to do business in the city of Chicago. Now, I agree with Alderwoman Hadden. We need to expand our economic base and expand the amount of industries that we have, particularly focused on green energy and things that are renewable and healthy. But at the same time, there are 200 families that just received layoff notices because we've now said that they can no longer operate at the facility that they've been working at for nearly 4 decades.
So the debate goes on there. Really quickly, Alderwoman Taylor, we're about a week away from the date where the city ostensibly is going to lift the indoor mask mandate. Is the city ready for this?
No, we're not. There are plenty of council members. I was just having this conversation while on break. Plenty of council members have COVID, and we are sitting 6 feet apart from each other. We are not. What we're going to see is Black and Latinx folks die at a higher rate, and we're going to start to see other people, and then they'll institute the mandate. It's the same thing that happened in August of last year. If we would have stayed on, and I'm calling it COVID punishment because it feels like punishment. If we would have stayed with having businesses still be flexible and closed, we would not be in a crisis. But look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie, and you're starting to see more young people who are hospitalized. And so this is a mistake. For folks who are saying this is a hoax, it's not real, we need to let up. You are not going to a funeral every week like we are. You are not trying to figure out how to help families to get medicine and the basic things that they need. And so this is a mistake.
All right, COVID's still very much present, even though that rate has gone down. And our thanks to Alderpeople Ray Lopez, Jeanette Taylor, and Maria Hadden. Thank you so much.
Of course.